How's it going? Dave from Comic Book Investments. So, as you may or may not know, I am what we would call a comic book dealer. That is someone whose sole job is literally just making deals on comic books. So, a lot of times I'll buy collections from people. I will, hunt down different deals, get in books, and then I have a customer base and I sell. I also have my own website. I also run comic book auctions on that website at collectorscomics.com. So, I'm more than just a comic book dealer, having an auction website, things like that. So I did a video talking about my worst thing I hate about being a comic book dealer. But in this video, I want to talk about what are the top 5 things I love about being a comic book dealer. Now, these are in no particular order because I don't know, it'd be hard to rank these, but I'll just gotta go down the list. So first on the list, like I said, no particular order, is getting a good deal. There's nothing I love more than getting a good deal. I love just, things just work out exactly how you want it to work out. And, you send it off, maybe it's a raw book, so you send it off to CGC and it comes back a better grade than you were hoping. And yeah, I just love that feeling. And then you sell it, quickly. That's part of being a good deal, is being able to sell. Some books you get and you hold on to it for 3 years. And then it's you might have made a lot of profit or something like that, but it's just it took forever to sell and you had it sitting there forever, doing price drops, all this kind of stuff. But something you just get back and sell for, that feeling is always there's a lot of rushes as that's happening. So first you're presented with this deal, whether it's in an auction. That's always a rush. I'm sure you guys know, you're in an auction and say you want this book and you're like, okay, I'm going to bid $5,000 on this book. And then you put it in your bid and no one bids on it. And then all of a sudden you get it for $2,000 or something like that. You're like, geez. So there's that rush, or, I talk to someone, we kind of work out a deal and it comes back and it's okay, got a good deal. And then I get the book in and I'm like, oh, so there's a rush right there. I got the book in. And then next, if it has to go to CGC or something like that, then it's okay, I send it off. Then, all of a sudden I get back in and then it's higher than I was hoping. I was hoping for a 9.0, I got a 9.4. And it's just oh wow, that just changes the game, and that's always good. Many books I've gotten in where it's I was probably getting 9.4, 9.6, and it gets at 9.8. And the difference between a 9.4 and a 9.8, that price could be massive, right? It could just be huge. So that's always fun to get those in. I do really love that about the job. It just, it's a nice rush and it's just a nice way of knowing it's I can make this work. I can be profitable. I've been doing this for 15 years full-time, or close to that, somewhere like that, since 2009. So yeah, about 15 years full-time as a full-time job. So it's always nice seeing that. Next is we have helping people find their grails, or just books that they're interested in, they really want. So when someone comes to me and they're like, hey, I need this book. Do you have this book? It's nice to know that I do have this book, and I get it. It's I'm really searching it. Many times people would every person's grail is different. So someone's grail could be an action number 1. Someone's grail could be, a Hulk 181. And so it's always nice when it's oh, this is my grail book. Let's work out a deal, all this kind of stuff. And it goes through and they're just happy. They'll take pictures of it. They'll put it on their Instagram. Sometimes they email me a picture of it, holding it or something like that. And that's always nice to know. It's hey, I was able to facilitate this deal, get the book that they wanted. Because here's the thing, they could go to a lot of different dealers, but they chose to go to me. Maybe it's the price that I had it at, or maybe they trust me. That happens a lot of times. You're the only person I deal with. That was way more common in the old days. When my dad was a comic dealer in the 80s and 90s, you had your go-to dealer and that's all you went to. You might have 1 or 2 that you'd work with, but that was it. If they didn't have the book you wanted, you waited until they did. Now it's a little different with the internet and people just kind of surf and click and choose whatever they want, but that's how it was back in the old days. Getting to see a bunch of comic books, that's always fun. Now, there's always those comic books I'm I could care less to see this book, but it's always nice to see books I've never seen before, ones I never even knew existed. There's many times I'll get independent or small publishers that's for example, I got this book in, I didn't know it even existed until I did a YouTube video out with Dave Stevens. I really love his artwork. And then so I traveled back in time. Turns out he's from San Diego. That's where I am. And he did a cover to Creature. I think it was The Creature. And this is one-off. It was his friend's publisher, whatever. His friend made his own comic book. And it was smaller, too. It wasn't comic size. And, yeah, and I was able to, a book I never even heard of before doing the video, and I got a copy. I had 2 copies at one point. I had a 9.8 actually, and the crazy thing is being the YouTube, people watched it and like, oh, I have a copy too, and so more of them came available after I made my video. But yeah, it's seeing books like that you never even knew existed. Many times I'll get stuff from like small publishers or one-off self-published stuff, and I'm just like, oh, that's interesting, someone took their time. And I'm not talking about like new books. I'm like, oh, this person just made this like last week. I'm talking about ones that are made in like the 70s and 80s and 60s, and that's always interesting to me to like know that story. That'd be cool. And seeing like, I love golden age horror, pre-code horror. I love that stuff. That's always fun to look at. And just getting any comic books that I generally like to see come across my desk, that's always fun. It's definitely a thing I love about this job. You get to see so many comic books that no normal person would ever get to see in their lifetime. I've seen a lot. I haven't seen every one, but if it's silver and bronze, I've probably seen more than 50% of everyone that's existed. More. It'd probably be like 80 or 90%. If it's from a major publisher like Marvel or DC, I've probably seen 99% of anything that's Silver Age or Bronze Age for sure. Next would be the connections that I make. The connections either through customers or just meeting people out. That is always fun. I always like that. I get to learn a lot of new things from people just email me. I just did a video about Wolverine's original first solo story was actually in a UK version before it was in the American version in X-Men 133. So that was interesting. I got to go down a rabbit hole, learn a bunch of new stuff. Also, I appreciate the customers that is, they'll candidly talk to me about like just random stuff. Maybe it's personal life stuff. Maybe it's about their journey through comic books. That connection is nice to have. There's a lot of people that live near me, so whenever they buy something from one of our auctions, they come in and we chat for a little bit. It could be as few as 5 minutes, could be an hour, and we'll chat and have that nice connection. When I went to Comic-Con, met a lot of people there, chatted it up, and that's always fun. That's like a good positive, I would say, from this job as well. And my final thing that I love is YouTube. Even though it's not really part of comic book dealing, I feel like it is, at least in my experience being a comic book dealer. Not every comic book dealer has a YouTube channel, probably like less than 1% of them do. But I generally enjoy it. I enjoy making videos. I enjoy the research. I do not enjoy editing. That I don't enjoy. But I do enjoy the research, learning about new things, and being able to share the new ideas and new stories that no one's ever heard before, or maybe not really, or a different point of view, maybe even just simple as like a review of a movie or a comic book or something like that. I enjoy making those videos. It is work, 100%, but I do enjoy that. That is something I love to do. I wish I could do more of it. I really wish I could get more people on my podcast. That's, I really enjoy, I had like that animator, sat down with him for like an hour. That was fantastic. Never met the person before in my life. Sat down, we had an hour conversation. It was a great conversation. Great person, was lovely to talk to. It was great. Had a great time. So I wish I could do more of those. That's what I want to do. But that's it. That is my list of the 5 things that I love about being a comic book dealer. I don't know how many of you are out there are comic book dealers, but if you are, maybe small time, big time, maybe you put in the comments what is something you love, maybe that I didn't mention on this list. Have a great day.